So I just got back from Target, back around my way. I'm at the dollar store now, but I just got back from the Target in the Dorchester section of Boston, and I was able to get my Infinite series joint. So that's kind of cool. I'm gonna tell you why it's cool in a second, but the process real quick was interesting because I read a post from Slings just saying that East Coast is getting the distribution, or it's starting to trickle down. So for whatever reason, Boston, I just don't feel like we get a lot of love, and Hasbro's right up the street for us in Rhode Island. So anyway, I grabbed the numbers real quick, had the figures. I called, or I went online, Target.com, and I just put a search engine for the closest stores, and I put in my zip code, and then from there, like 5 stores came up. I called one of the bigger ones. He said they're gone. They were out of the system on clearance, which I found interesting, and he said they were gone before Christmas. But he said that on his computer it showed up that 2 of the stores had them. I called one of those stores. They said they couldn't even find it on the computer. I called the Target in South Bay, Dorchester, and they said they had 8. I assumed it was 8 cases. I don't know how. I'm assuming that they're super rare. That was kind of silly to think 8 cases, but so I said, hold 1 from me, and she goes, okay, she goes, 1, and I said, yeah, 1 a case, and she goes, what do you mean a case? And I said, she goes, like, how many pieces? I said, oh, I'm sorry, hold 8 pieces for me, the 8 that you have, and that's what she meant by 8. So I went to Target, guest services, they had them on hold for me. I grabbed all 8. Went back to the toy aisle because I knew I was gonna not grab the World War II cap, and I knew that there was doubles on the Marvel Now cap. So went back and I pegged those 3 captains, and I just had my 5. Kind of cool because the Baron Zemo, or excuse me, the Red Skull, I don't have them. I've never had a Red Skull in my collection, so I'm kind of glad I waited. A couple times I almost grabbed it. I just didn't like the clothes on it for some reason, so I just never got it. And then the Baron Zemo, which I almost got a few times, but because it was pretty cheap at a local toy store around my way. Kind of glad I didn't, so I was able to get them in this line, because generally I like to do the whole, if I'm caught up, I like to do the build a figure, just get them all so I can build that figure. There's been gaps in my collection, or during my collecting days, where I just wasn't collecting at that moment, so I missed entire series. I missed the whole Fing Fang Foom series. I missed the whole Red Hulk series. I missed a couple. So I've been collecting a long time, and just as my history is with a lot of things that I collect, I kind of hop in and out. So I'm back on action figures, but the whole experience today was kind of funny because this is how it used to be when we used to collect. We would we'd store hop. We knew where all the Toys R Us were, and by 95, this was 95, because me and my boy Frank and Sammy got into collecting Power of the Force by chance. We were just at Toys R Us grabbing a baseball glove, I think, and we was like, oh shit, look, we released them. And we were Star Wars fans, So we started buying them, and we started noticing that the collection was getting big. So we'd have to go to other Toys R Us to grab like obscure characters from the Star Wars universe. And so the hunt was on. So we're trying to stay one step ahead, because we knew that there were scalpers that was grabbing them and selling them at conventions. See, eBay didn't exist back then. There was no such thing as eBay. The only way you can get those type of figures was mail catalog, through magazines or whatever, or ads. eBay, there was no internet, so conventions was where it's at. So we went to a lot of conventions, and we see these figures that were eluding us hanging on the pegs, and we'd be like, oh shit, word. But then they'd be like 3 times the retail cost, and we used to get pissed, like, yo, that's some bullshit, like come on. So maybe that's why I posted on Facebook, kind of dissing Scalpers a little bit, but it's probably because of that frustration, just because of just the search, which is cool, because I got to spend time with my boys, and we was talking action figures and sports. We was into sports, and and the whole nine. So it was kind of cool for that bonding time, but it kind of sucked for the fact that, you know, these guys was one step. These, you know, in '95, I was 21. I was 21 in '95, 74, 84. Yeah, so I was 21. I was born in 1974. So I had a car at that point, so I can search. Like the search was on. I can go. I would even go to Rhode Island, and I go to New Hampshire, and I'd go all out, kid. But just in the name of paying retail and in the name of the adventure, because I'm driving, I'm going with my boys. You know, we hanging out. So Scalpers it sucks that Scalpers exist and that it drives up the price, you know, for people, and it's even more prevalent now because of eBay. So it is what it is, I guess. So it was cool to get some action figures. It was cool to be back in the game, in the action figure game, at a time when some real cool shit is coming out that it wasn't, you know, Toy Biz was doing this thing back in the day, but by the time I got on Toy Biz, I was, you know, on the solo dolo. Like, my friends weren't collecting anymore, it was just me. And then, again, I was skipping in and out of collections. So to have, to be part, you know, back in the community, at a time when, you know, this is getting released and the Spider-Man series is coming next, and some of the stuff that got released throughout 2013 is real cool to kind of be able to stay one step of potential scalpers, potential people who were just getting action figures to make extra money. You stay away from those people and one step ahead of them, rather, and then boom. So I'm real happy to be able to get my figures at retail. You know, like I said many a time, I appreciate every action figure I man. All of them are dope to me, so it's kind of cool that this is where we at. When I started collecting back in 1995, which is what I consider when I really started to really, again, I was old enough to have my, you know, I had a vehicle, I had a job, I was doing my thing, and so I can get action figures, and it was a real cool time, man. But I didn't know a lot of people. I didn't know a community existed. A few years ago, actually, I did a search on Facebook, and I didn't really find any, like, community. I was looking for, like, people that had that love like I did. You know what I mean? Like, people that actually, you know, it meant something to them. And so it was cool when on Instagram, and I know I've said this story before, I'm pretty sure I have, when I started seeing all these action figure pictures, you know, just set in different scenarios. So it was definitely cool to also be in this era of action figure collecting, because again, I've seen so much. You know, I've seen when McFarlane first started, you know, creating action figures, when they was doing like the Image line, you know, like they was doing Youngblood and Spawn and you know, Jiminy's Wildcat. So these action figures, the color schemes was always dope, and the articulation wasn't that great. And McFarlane's argument was always that, you know, you can't have both, you know, which obviously has been proven wrong. But so I was around when these figures was coming out, but when these figures came out, they was blowing shit away. Like, even Marvel, you know, Marvel back in the Secret Wars, and that's when I really started loving action figures. It wasn't the Power of the Force Star Wars collection in '95, although that pulled me in. But it was before that, you know, when the love started, when the Secret Wars 2 was coming out with action figures. It was the Black Spider-Man, and that was hard to get. I got the Daredevil. It used to come with a little shield, and it had like a hologram on it or whatever. So I've been collecting figures for a long time. You know, I've always had love for them, and it's funny because some of my friends, you know, will kind of give you them remarks like, seriously, still? And I'm like, yo, dude, it's a love for art. You know, I'm a graffiti artist. 20 years now, so I've been writing, so you know, I love the art portion of anything that takes creativity, because these figures just don't come out overnight. There's a whole thought process that goes behind them. There's blueprints, there's, you know, all that shit. So I respect the process of the art, and I looked at it a lot like that. So it wasn't like I was taking these fucking action figures and playing with them. You know what I mean? Like, that shit ain't no fun. I'm a grown ass man, dude. I'm you know, I got 3 kids. Like, that's not it. It's more for me, you know, the art of it and appreciating that art. And that's the same thing. I collect sneakers as well. I love sneakers, and I love sneakers for the history, because a lot of these sneakers are worn by NBA players that are creating history. But you look at a shoe and there's an art to it. You know, there was a thought process. There's a color scheme that comes into play. All that shit to me is crucial for art to happen. You know, as a graffiti artist, I sketch it out first and foremost. I decide what colors I'm gonna take. I pack my bag, I plan, I go, I have my wall, whatever, and I create my artwork, and I structure it so that eventually it has 3D and it looks like it's popping up at you a little bit while creating a color scheme that makes sense and doesn't detract away from the art of that piece, you know, of those four. For me, I write days. I use 4 letters, D-A-Y-Z, so those letters that I try to master. So it's the same process to me like that with action figures, so I always respected that. As time has gone on, they've gotten to the point where, you know, like the whole SH figure arts, you know, Dragon Ball Z is crazy. That's just crazy. Like the hands that it comes with, the different faces, again, stuff I've spoke around before, but it just amazes me the you know, the progression that action figure has made in the community and how it's grown. And which is why it bothers me a little bit when people are scalping, you know, are trying to make money off of our love for something. I have never ever scalped an action figure in my life. I've bought an extra one hoping that someone will take it off my hands, you know. Oh shit, you got that? Yo, can I get it? Retail, baby, is yours. A lot of times I will get stuck with these action figures, especially back in the day. So when eBay came out, I had a lot of stuff that had doubles of or that I didn't want anymore, and so I was like, cool, I'm gonna sell these. But my intention was always to flip it back into the collection. And first and foremost, if I had a fellow community member that in need, I wouldn't charge them extra. I just retail. What bothers me is when people specifically buy just for the purpose of charging more. They ain't trying to hook their friends up with it. They may not even have friends. They just straight to eBay, you know, and it's like, damn, dude, like, you just wiped off the pegs, and there's people like me looking for fucking action figures, and you're doing this to make, you know, an extra 50, 60 bucks. I mean, I know we gotta hustle, I get it, but damn, you know, that it just bothers me, you know, and that's my opinion on it. I understand the hustle, man. We all hustle, and in the sneaker game, oftentimes I would, you know, buy a pair of sneakers specifically to resell it forward. And for the most part, again, if somebody was my size and hit me up on a sneaker community, and they hit me up and they said, listen, you know, do you have an extra pair, or can you get me? I will get a double. But sometimes I get that double, nobody will get them. And so I put it on eBay and I make a few extra bucks, and therefore at the end I end up paying less for my pair. So I get it in that aspect. And I guess maybe that's being a little hypocritical. But again, my idea is to always try to help out a community member out. And I obviously doing this with eBay, that means that it's within the technology age, and so that people, I would put it out there on Nike Talk, which was a big forum back in the day. I'm pretty sure it's still a big forum, but I'm not part of the community day to day like that. So I put it out there, like, I have these, you know, it's a meetup. If you want, you pay shipping and the cost of the sneakers. I'd rather give it to you than somebody who specifically just bought it to put on eBay. So that was my point. So if ever I can help somebody out, somebody just hit me up right now. A dude that I play basketball with was like, yo, where you got him at? And I told him, and I guess he didn't have time to go. So, you know, I was about to hit him up on Facebook just to tell him, hey, listen, you know, if I'm in Target and I just happen to find a series again, let me know if you want me to get you 1 or 2 pieces. You just pay me when you see me. They play every Wednesday, his group, and he's not there every Wednesday, but he knows where we're at. So yeah, so that was my thing, man. So I'm real happy that I was able to get my 5 at retail. Actually went to a dollar store and I didn't find much, but I did find one of them little cat pointers. I mean, it was working here. I think it's just they kept pressing the button. So anyway, yeah. So I'm gonna use this for a scene involving Red Skull with that cube, that power cube or cosmic cube, whatever it's called. I also found a birdcage candle holder, which, if disguised correctly, can be a quick little jail cell for, you know, Captain America. Yeah, I just went to the dollar store and looked around, always looking for ideas. That's another thing that I've enjoyed this time around in the action figure community is the fact that I'm building dioramas, and so that I tend to try to get inspiration for which, you know, and ask anyone who builds dioramas, that shit's a whole art form by itself. I mean, if you're doing it the right way, and again, I love the Dio Structure group that I'm a part of, because I think everybody's there does it the right way, their own style, and that style is kind of their art, and so that I can appreciate that, and I love being part of that group because of it. And so I just went into that, and honestly, it's mad love there. So being part of the community now, and being part of a Dio Structure group, and being able to create these dioramas has taken it to another level for me now, because now it's not just collecting the figure and displaying it. It's bringing these figures to life, you know, essentially, and telling a story while doing it. And man, that's a dope art form. Again, because of the thought process that goes behind it. You know, the searches that most of us diorama makers go through in terms of going to dollar stores or you know, whatever supply, you know, anything we can find that's gonna make our dioramas a better build, a doper look. We bought it. That's what we're gonna do. So I love that shit. You know, that's some good shit, man. That's some good creativity. And when you find people who are creative in their day-to-day, then you're gonna find people that you're gonna get along with, because that is such a powerful thing. Not everybody can create. That's why a lot of times people need to commission them, because they don't feel like they can do it, and they don't even try it. Which, I tell people all the time, is a lot easier than what it looks, to be honest with you, and it's just something you learn. But so people get commissions because it's a skill, and part of that skill is having a keen eye for certain pieces that are gonna make your dioramas better. So that's another aspect that's been great about collecting, you know. And it's been a long time, man. And you know, I'm 39 years old, B. Like I'm 40 years old next October, you know, straight up. And I've always loved it equally. I've never, you know, let anybody detract me, because everybody's so caught up on what age means and so forth. I'm just, whatever makes me smile, I'm gonna do, you know. And I have a good time with action figures, and you know, who knows, in a year I may not do as much, and I may go back to really into sneakers. I'm always into something. I collect vinyl stickers. I collect a bunch of different little, you know, little trinkets, little things that, you know, like tags from back in the day, Echo and all these hip hop companies that, you know, would have like a tag, would have like a little CD, like shit like that. I collect a little crazy shit like that. That to me is, there's always this thought process behind it, and I appreciate the end result. And all that I've ever done in terms of my art has been chipping away to give you that end result. And so that, I think that's why I appreciate some of the stuff I collect has to do with that. Yeah, man, so I'm looking forward to posing these figures and putting them in some dioramas, and I got some ideas, and I think I'm gonna pull out Wifey collected Muppets for a minute. So I actually have the Muppets backstage. We have the space shuttle joint, the little cockpit there. We have the laboratory that I'm gonna try to pull out so I can use tonight. I just completed Arnim Zola last night, so that's kind of cool, because I got some other figures, Red Skull, that I can kind of throw into that mix. Yeah, man, so I'm gonna create something tonight, you know what I'm saying? And it's kind of cool that I got these figures, because I can put them, you know, they'll be part of that process. Cool, man. So thank you very much for everybody who has subscribed. You know, I'm new to YouTube, so I'm learning. I'm like backed up on thanking people, but I really do appreciate everybody who tunes in. You know, most of these videos are one take, man. I fumble, I fuck up, but that's human. You know, I'm not in Hollywood, so I'm not stopping and trying to, you know, I'm just going through with it. And I appreciate everybody who leaves comments and likes, and same thing on Instagram, on Facebook, man. It's a great community to, you know, to be a part of. And so I definitely appreciate everybody out there, and it's cool how these friendships will be formed, not just with me and other members, but other members, you know, amongst themselves, man. So it's a cool thing to see, man. Life is too hectic, and so much of it is on the negative end. So when you can find something positive of just dudes getting down on something that they agree on and appreciate and love, it's dope, man. I know a lot of y'all are younger, and y'all probably look at me like I'm an old ass dude, and I guess I am compared to, like, you know, if you're 17 to 22, I'm an old ass dude. You know, but hopefully you'll never lose that, you know, and you'll always keep that youthful exuberance of liking action figures, no matter what age you are, no matter what they say, because people always got shit to say, you know what I mean? And you just gotta, you know, get over it, and if it's making you smile, do more of what makes you smile, and that's the bottom line. So thank you to everybody, man, and I'm gonna keep making these YouTube videos, and you know, I get to talk a little more, and people say I'm episodical, you know, so I got mad details before I get to the point. But thank you, man, I appreciate it, and more to come. Peace.